Welcome to Charles Dickens' A Brain on Fire, a series that digs deep into the life and works of one of the greatest novelists of all time. It's Christmas Eve, and wherever you're at with all your last-minute preparations, I think you should pause a moment to contemplate how brilliantly faithful The Muppet's Christmas Carol is to Dickens's original story. In fact, the more you know the original, the more you can appreciate the care and detail that director Brian Henson brought to his film. For example, Dickens's line about Scrooge carrying his own low temperature about with him is shown immediately in the film when a shadow appears in the background and Gonzo and Rizzo shiver with cold as Michael Caine sweeps around the corner for his first entrance. Or the famous opening sequence high above the rooftops that drops down to figures throwing snowballs. However, I do have friends that are more familiar with the Muppet version and are surprised to read the first line of the book, Marley Was Dead, and realise that there's only one of them. I had a similar experience myself reading A Christmas Carol for the first time when I saw that Scrooge's former employer went by the name of Fezziwig, not Fozziwig. Today's guest was in this movie and played the character of Scrooge's young love interest, Belle. At just the tender age of 18, she filmed her scenes by taking a short break from playing Eponine in the iconic West End production of Les Miserables, a show that began at the RSC and conquered the world and was created by much of the same team that adapted the famous stage adaptation of Nicholas Nickleby. So, it is a thrill to welcome the inimitable Meredith Braun, especially as I was also in Les Miserables with her, as a young boy playing her brother Gavroche. Meredith, happy Christmas and welcome to Charles Dickens' A Brain on Fire.
Thank you for having me. Happy Christmas.
We're not doing this in early November, are we?
No, of course we're not. And that is literally the first time I've said Happy Christmas this year, so thank you for that.
Oh, well, there you go. On a Charles Dickens podcast. I mean, that's something, isn't it? You're here because, of course, The Muppet Christmas Carol, in which you played Scrooge's great love interest, Belle. And really, when we talk about this, when we bring this up, what are the first things that come to mind, and how did you get the audition and all of that?
Yes. So I was, I guess I was 18, and I was in the middle of Les Mis, as you know, doing 8 shows a week, and very sort of depressing, doing Eponine and dying every night covered in blood. And my agent just sort of put me up for it, and I went, and it was a very simple process. I remember singing the song with Paul and hearing very quickly, and it led to a couple of weeks off Les Mis, where I went into the studio and filmed it, and it was a joy from start to finish. Gosh,
so you're already a very, very young Eponine. In fact, were you the youngest ever Eponine at this point?
I don't know that. I think Frances was pretty young too when she started, but it must be close to. Yeah, otherwise it probably wouldn't be legal. But I do remember taking a couple of weeks leave and going to film it and not thinking, stupidly, that it would kind of be a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up watching the Muppets. I am a huge fan. I was every Sunday night, I was sitting watching it. And when it was on live and we didn't have catch up and all that kind of thing. And I knew I remember the Broadway stars coming in. Do you remember the Bernadette Peters and Paul Williams was on there too? And all those stars coming in and just being completely mesmerized, both by the humor, obviously the color, it's so clever and it's so funny. And so to be with them I was starstruck. Yeah. We had a read through, I remember, and I think it was Ealing Studios, and a very big, impressive wooden table, with that seemed like 80 people around it. I don't know. It's a long time ago to remember, but and then we did a full read through of the script, and of course they weren't the puppets, but they were doing all the voices, and I think I missed every cue. I didn't know what I was doing because I was just so enthralled in it. It was gorgeous, and there were lovely people. And Brian it was his first. It was his directorial debut after his dad died, and it was really, really important to him. So everyone cared enormously.
Yeah, you feel that watching it, actually. Even just as a punter, you feel the great care that's gone into it and the attention to detail.
Oh, yeah.
So you make it to the read through. Obviously, you've booked the gig. But what happened with the actual audition site? So you're Eponine, you're in the West End. You get a call to come in. What did you have to do to audition for it?
I think I just came in and sang the song with Paul. It was very low key. I don't remember seeing any other people auditioning.
And it was a very quick turnaround in it.
Yeah, it was so straightforward. I mean, I guess they knew I was doing the show. I suppose that helped, but they were just so warm and welcoming. And I think I sang it once or twice through. I was obviously sent it beforehand, so sometimes these things are just incredibly smooth. The song just made so much sense to me. I think it's so well written, and the words fit so well on the music, and I understood the journey, the emotional journey. I've always been very driven by it's the storytelling for me. It's the emotional connection with the story, the emotional journey, and how you connect that with your audience. You know, who are you singing to? What do you want them to do, say, or feel? What happens if they don't? You know, what are the stakes? The moment before. That's always been what drives me to perform. You know, it's great to be able to sing and to do this stuff, but the point is the acting and the storytelling for me. And I must admit, probably that time doing 8 shows a week, as you know, it's exhausting. And I don't think I hadn't studied opera at that point. I was very much belter. And I don't think my range was enormous at that point because I was tired, you know, as well. And it fits the song too. It's just weird. It was the right song because it doesn't have an enormous range, but it's conversational, isn't it? It's driven by what she needs to say. It's just quite feminist, which is quite cool too.
That's true, actually. She knows her own mind, doesn't she? Knows that he's kind of stringing her along.
Yeah, and she makes a strong decision. You know, it doesn't always happen in musical theatre.
No, it does not. So that's very good. That's very good. So When Love Is Gone, though, as a song, this has actually come back to you, hasn't it? Because you've gone back to it and re-recorded it.
Yes. So I mean, and the song itself has had a journey too. Of course, it was in the original. It got cut, of course, straight early on because Disney felt it slowed the action down, which of course it does. But it makes sense of it. But it's very adult, and
Yes.
they felt, of course, for children. And I remember Brian calling me to say, and he fought for it to be in there, and he was gutted. He was so lovely, and because I sort of maybe at 18 you're not really thinking consequences particularly, and I went, okay, cool. What, you know, it is what it is, and you know, we all have roles that stay in the cut and disappear, and that happens to everybody along the way. So I didn't really think much about it, but because it became the year-on-year thing, and because the song had existed and then got cut, people began to want it back to make sense of the story.
But I remember seeing you sing that at the Guildford Odeon because I saw it because it was in the original theatrical release, wasn't it? The song, I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah. So it was there, and it's just later releases, I think, where it dropped out. But yeah,
and it was on a VHS version.
Yes, my sister had that VHS. She's younger than me. She was a big fan of that film. So I remember seeing it there too.
It was so. I mean, and then I began to hear through the years that people would sort of stop the movie, play the VHS, and then continue the movie and sort of things like that. And then, of course, with the internet and the rest of it, the song sort of appears. And then what I didn't know, and I finally got contacted by Brian, was that he'd been searching because they couldn't put it. They wanted to put it back in long before, but they couldn't find the original actual physical film to put it back in. So he had a team of people, like 7 people, for years looking to find this film. And I had no idea. And then they didn't find the original film, but they found like the first copy of the actual film on film, as it were. So they were able to properly remaster it and do the rest of it and put it back in. And I think it got put, was it 2 years ago that it got put back in?
I think so, yeah.
So there was this sort of campaign that built up, which was really odd. and very sweet. And of course I, went and had children, and the movie became more and more important as the years went on, because it comes back with, the holiday, and it's kind of up there with Christmas movies. And I it just built in significance. And I just never occurred to me at the time that it would be something that came back every year. It never occurred to me.
But in that situation, you know your cast. When you find out, and obviously, where is this? 1991. So the phone rings. You don't get an email.
Yep.
The phone rings to tell you.
And the script arrives. I've got my script. So I found that in the cellar. I've got the script with my name and the call sheet with Michael Caine and So I know it's lovely. And but do remember, mainly I'm a big fan of the Muppets, so that was my thing. We had costume calls, obviously. As I say, we had this read through.
And how was the costume call? Because that can be for actors. It can be quite nerve wracking. Can't it? Suddenly go, oh my god, this is real. Or you can come out the other side and go, right, I know what I'm doing now. This is happening.
They had such a strong idea. It was so well planned, so well organised, and such, there were storyboards, I remember, and the imagery, it was just clear. It was so well organised and done that I felt completely safe with them. And I mean, it's quite funny. There is, that first outfit that I'm wearing in there was an incident with Fozzie, but otherwise...
Oh dear, he's lower down, isn't he? His head level.
He's lower down, yeah. So it's the party scene, isn't it? And you're standing on these kind of raised walkways, and so the puppeteers are in the gully. I don't know the right word for it, and you're walking on these pathways, and they're filming you there. So of course, you stop in between takes, and you've got Fozzie at sort of chest height, as it were, but the puppeteer's lower down, and you're chatting with Fozzie. You're not chatting with the puppeteer, so they don't go out of character. So you're sort of having chat with Fozzie, and of course Fozzie was at that height. So Fozzie was making suggestive comments, and I thought it was hysterical. It was very funny. So I flirted with Fozzie. Definitely flirted with Fozzie. He was great.
And then, of course, Michael Caine as your co-star. What was it like meeting him for the first time? I mean, what was it like seeing his name on the call sheet? Did you know in the casting that he was going to be Scrooge at that point?
He's just a charming person and a delight to work with. And I think, people don't get to that level and do that much work without being lovely. He was nothing but generous. And we recorded the song first, of course, so we were in the studio.
There's lovely footage online of the two of you recording that. And he's so kind of supportive, and he's really impressed with you as well. Just kind of singing it out, going, I wish I could sing like you.
You can sort of see me going, oh, this is cool.
Well, this is what's so impressive is also, it feels like it's a recurring theme. You're only 18 to just have that level of game face and kind of, togetherness, to not be suddenly overawed by it.
They made me feel incredibly comfortable because I think Brian made it really clear from the beginning that everyone was playing it for real. We weren't spoofing anything, and therefore it made me feel comfortable because my approach is always to find the truth in it, to find the reality. It's not fake. It's real. People think actors are all lying, and actually we're not. We're finding the truth. It has to be real, and I have to understand my emotional journey in order to have confidence in what I'm doing. If I hate sort of just doing a concert where I'm not acting the role, and I haven't thought it through, or I don't know it well enough. That's my worst nightmare. I need to be telling the story. And he was, Michael Caine was approaching in that way and it's so evident in the movie that he's playing it for real. And it's such a good story. And it's, why you don't mess with it. You don't need to embellish it. You just need to play the truth. And I think that was driving him, and that was driving Brian, and that was driving Paul. So we were on the same page. And, they didn't show me any you could at that age, of course. They weren't condescending.
Yeah.
So many people would bring status and things to it. There wasn't ego from any of them, which is astonishing. And I've tried to take that forward because I think ego gets in the way of performing truth.
Yeah, it makes your own performing not as good as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You've got this other thing going on that sort of takes you out. But when you came to record that, you got Fozziewig's ball and everything. Have you? So I love saying those words. Did you just arrive on set, do little run-throughs and go for it, or did you have?
I think we obviously talked more about the direct. It was more directed through the song, through the recording. So by the time we got into the studio, we knew. I know there's been lots of movie musicals since, but you pre-record it and you're singing to yourself, singing it. But because it's a very big studio, and you sing, you sing out. I didn't want it to look like, you're sort of sitting back and not doing it properly. So you're actually singing it. And I've found since that, I think, again, because I had emotionally blocked it, which is what I'm teaching to students now, the emotional blocking, the emotional storytelling determines the vocal choices that are made. It determines the physicality. That drives everything. So when you come to recreate it, as long as you've got the emotional blocking, recreating it or reliving it is quite easy. Because even when later, I went to the Prince Charles Cinema in Leicester Square. Does a sing-along Muppets every year. And a couple of years I've gone and I've sort of judged the Christmas jumper competition and things. And I sing along to the song when it's playing on the thing and I'm in front of it, which is the strangest experience. I mean, it's just really weird. But all the breaths, all the, I know exactly what I did.
Yeah.
All that changes through the years is sometimes the subtext that you bring to it, because obviously my understanding now is different than it was at 18. So the subtext changes, but I do remember it. I have a physical and a visceral memory of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. And even just walking the set, the bridge and the snow and how that felt and everything.
Yeah.
You mentioned vocal technique and styles and everything. And you mentioned that during the time as Eponine, you were in that kind of musical theatre belt placement. How was it for you to then switch to a more kind of operatic sound than for the Secret Garden? Because that's more Cosette realm, isn't it? If we're thinking Les Mis.
Well, I did Christine before Secret Garden.
Right.
So Secret Garden was probably slightly less operatic than Christine. But I stopped and so what did I do? I did Ms. and then Sunset, which I needed, as Betty Schaefer needed some legit elements in there. So I sort of started the training and then I really stopped, and I had about a year of 2 or 3 lessons a week operatically to sort of retrain, because it's a strange thing when you're used to acting. Head voice feels very different, and you have to learn sort of the acting. You realize the acting comes from within, not through contemporary or vocal choices that you're used to making. That's not that I could go on for that for hours, but
you go on as long as you like. It's great.
I'm quite interested in doing some sort of dissertation on the when people have belted and then they relearn or try to sing legit, what we call legit, why they find it difficult to act suddenly through song.
Yes. Is it the kind of the feeling like you've got a plum in your mouth? If you've got these round sounds coming out that are sung, that you feel like you've suddenly gone a bit, and it's not coming from...
Yeah, and you're not yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think it's both the vowel modifications and the placing that's different and legit, but it's also the phrasing, the breathing, the dynamics, the pull and push of the phrases. So you have to sort of learn that in contemporary singing, we break things up a lot. We use glottals on sets. We use lots of different vocal colours. Yeah. And I think that's the way. It's more like speaking in the sense that we're having our thoughts, as I'm speaking now, dividing things up. Whereas if you've got long lyrical phrases, you have to learn that you can change your thought in the middle of a phrase or the middle of a note. You can change your emotion behind it, the primary driving emotion. It's a bit like doing the patting your head, rubbing your tummy thing. You just have to learn that the thoughts are separate from what you're physically doing. Like, once you're used to driving a car, you can think about something else or do, you have to get the technique, but then you have to figure out how to bring... A lot of actors, when they've, if I know my first ex-husband, who was a musical supervisor, was brought in. That sounded weird.
Let's do a little sidebar here. Let's have the rundown on.
Actually, he was the musical supervisor of Les Mis and cast me in it. Yeah.
Is he in my program? What was his name?
He's in there. He would have cast you too.
Would he really?
Yeah.
That's so funny. Because I remember because it was Ken Caswell as well, wasn't it? Who was...
Yeah, he was associate director.
Yeah.
And he was associate musical director.
Oh my gosh.
Supervisor. Yeah.
So basically... So when I was first rehearsing Gavroche, then your ex-husband was sat at a Yamaha DX7.
First ex-husband
was sat at a Yamaha DX7 trying to get me to sort of sing the Gavroche stuff before we then go onto the stage. Yeah, I remember that.
He worked with Ken. Yeah, and then they went off and did a lot of the foreign productions and stuff. So they had other people in running. Julian Big conducting.
Julian Big, of course. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, I went out with him before I married David. David White.
I see. Well, you had to be sure, didn't you? You had to make sure that. So you learned the you move from the belting, and you go to the legit inverted commas, by the way, operatic sound. What did you have after that? Because can you access the belt and the?
Oh yeah. Yeah, of course.
How different do they feel to sort of, in terms of characterization?
It's really interesting that when you look at musical theatre overall and what characters, which characters are written to be belted and which, look at Cosette and Eponine, for instance, the kind of, but then Secret Garden, so Lily is fairly legit. That's very exposed last note, that's for sure. But no, it doesn't go. It's just, I think it's slightly stereotyping women. If I'm going to get on my feminist bandwagon here, of a type of woman that will sing legit, they're always good,
saintly,
and nice and pretty and this and that, saintly. And you'll get the tougher street urchins, kind of belty people who've struggled against the odds being, characters. And I think it's changing slightly. To me, there's no sort of singing that's wrong, unless it hurts, obviously. It's just, it's just different colours. It's different colours for the palette to tell your story. So learn all of them. And now things have evolved since, Les Mis days and Miss Saigon, and when it was all belt and then the high belt. Now there's twang, there's mix, there's the American sort of sound, there's the pop. Obviously, there's some really fantastic musicals that are based on pop music. So I think you need to be able to have all these different colours. I'm not a great pop. I'll have a couple of glasses of wine and sing a pop song, think I sound amazing, but it's really not me. I'm way too musical theatre. It's quite funny. But I kind of wish I had, in some ways. That would have been fun. I think you have to embrace all of it these days, and I know.
Yeah, well, I suppose in some ways, Michael Ball's had a kind of pop career, hasn't he, without being really a pop singer, and Alfie Boe, the guys have done it a bit, haven't they? Is there an equivalent?
It's sort of light pop, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I think it's easier in America for people to cross that divide. Here we seem to think pop or musical theatre or legit, opera and acting, and never the twain shall meet. And, I work in a university that has an acting department and classical singers. And I do find it kind of ridiculous that it's separate, because we are fundamentally all driven by the same thing. And I think I'm trying to break down that, because there's no difference between what I'm teaching with acting through song as to what's being taught straight acting.
Yeah, absolutely. Over the last 3 decades or so, how has singing changed in terms of how, if you went to see a musical, if you went and saw Les Mis or Phantom, how has that, Phantom is probably quite set in some ways, but can you detect stylings from like the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s?
Yes, definitely.
What's happened?
Now, of course, we've got Six, the musical, things like that, which is totally pop. Yes, I've seen Les Mis through the years sort of go in phases. So it when I went in, I had to sing it exactly as written. We really, really couldn't move away from that one. And then at one point it went very pop, and then people start adding riffs, or they add things into it, and there's more mixed. I'm always a bit taken aback when somebody sings on my own in a mix rather than belting, because it was written to belt, not to mix. But some people have very developed strong mix, and they can do it.
So what is mix? Mix
is fundamental in my. This is not a technical explanation at all, but it's fundamentally a head voice quality with lots of edge.
Right.
So it feels like head voice, but it and you can. The more you know your voice, the more you can actually. So I can add a bit of mix into my belt voice, or I can have almost a belt mix. It depends on what you're doing physically and the level of, the larynx and where everything's sitting. But you can add elements of edge to make something a head voice to become mix, which sounds, to anybody doesn't know, will sound like much more like belt. So I can actually hear recordings of myself in the past and think, I know what I'd made a decision about how I was singing that, but when I listen to it, sometimes I can't quite hear which it was. But I do a lot of this with students, saying you need to go through your score and decide, make a decision for every single note where you're placing it. Don't leave anything up to chance. And once you've sung it and you've practiced it and it's in your, rep, and you're doing 8 shows a week, it's it's a physical memory. It's there. So, I studied opera, but I haven't stopped belting. Of course not.
Yes.
I think it's easier to learn to belt than it is to learn legit. It takes more time, and normally people begin one or the other. They're either I don't know. I have a weird theory. Probably makes no sense at all. That only children tend to be legit, and the children that grow up with siblings are more likely to belt if they would go into the performing.
That would make
because
total
they've had
sense,
to fight for their
for their little space, yeah.
And it's not based on any research, and I can't back it up.
So it must be true.
yeah. No, I'm not standing by that. But it's all nice people, or it's about people who find anger more easily will find belting.
Anger and pain yeah. So you say those talking about Les Mis then. So you go through sort of a poppy phase and then a mixed phase, and has there been more classical sounding phases? Because it is quite a classical sort of.
I don't know. Recently, look, I haven't seen this the recent 40th anniversary cast of it. I know I had friends who went the other day to see it, and I think that's perhaps, in my opinion, slightly odd when you're bringing together people because of their names rather than building a company to tell a story. I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on it, but I wonder how that sits. It's also, when I last saw it, there are fewer people in it than there were when we did it. Right. So the cast is smaller and the orchestra is smaller because they changed theatres.
Oh, yes. Yes, they did, didn't they? Because the Palace Theatre was this most amazing.
Yeah, wasn't it beautiful? Did you ever go in the cellar down the bottom of the Palace Theatre? Did you ever, it's like
we keep going down the stairs
down. The river is down there. The river Fleet.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah, gosh.
That's why Andrew Lloyd Webber wanted it for Phantom.
Right.
But he owns it, but he couldn't because
he couldn't get it because Les Mis was a big hit. Ha ha.
So, yeah,
yes.
Isn't it?
He thought it was in for just a little season, then it was gone, and it was all his. But no.
Yeah.
It's, something I remember though, thinking about those stairs at the Palace Theatre.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you here, Meredith. Okay. Do you remember the sequence of that walk you would do before you went on stage? Because I remember this is something ingrained in my mind. Was it a kind of some sort of ritual or superstition that you had? You used to walk down the steps. You did something where you would miss 2 steps, or you'd go.
Oh, that's interesting.
Did you remember
notice?
That? I did notice.
Yeah.
What was that?
Oh, that's really interesting. Well, when you're about to go on and you've got everything going through your head, and I tend to not be the kind of person. I don't want to chat before I go on. I want to keep very insular.
That's something I remember about you, actually, is that you were very, very focused as you went down. And I kind of really understood that and actually felt a kindred spirit in that, because I can be a bit like that as well.
I don't want to do all that chat. It is that focus. And yes, I think you're right. And what happens is it builds up over time. You probably saw me. It is slightly OCD. And it's out of superstition. I think it's out of fear because it never stops being frightening. I mean, I don't know about you, but it's never not frightening. And you're literally put into this heightened state of fight or flight and survival. Even though, you're probably not going to die, it feels like it. And so your body is primed, isn't it? When you've got 2,000 people standing there watching you and their evening's dependent on it, and you feel the responsibility. I was very young, but you feel the responsibility. I did. I always have done.
Yeah, I mean, on my own as a number, I mean, it's probably up there as the most important of all of the ones in there.
It's up there, isn't it? Yeah. It's people's special nights. They're paid an enormous amount of money to go and see this. And you want to do your best every single time. And I think the little rituals that build up are about safety, about feeling that if I do this, and that is a form of OCD, isn't it? That this will happen. I mean, nobody would have given it a diagnosis or a label at the time, but I found my way through is that they would build up, and then I would get rid of them all. So I wouldn't do any of it, and I'd just see if the world fell apart. I'd have to think, if I could swear, effort, that's it. I don't care. We'll see what happens. Not that I don't care about the performance, but it becomes too tiring. I always think with any habit that habits are fine as long as they're not destructive. So, having a couple of drinks is okay. Drinking too much obviously isn't. Or replace a wise woman once said to me, once something gets destructive, replace it with something else that isn't, start knitting, do whatever, whatever it takes. But it's only when it becomes, and I think I recognize that with any pre-performing rituals. I mean, it's sensible to have a cough suite. It's sensible to get scented before you go on. It's sensible to make sure you're in the right place at a certain time because you know you're going to make the cue. So all of those things are really logical. It's about keeping you safe, or actually just doing the job well, but it feels like keeping you safe. But it's when the unnecessary things build up.
Yeah, and I suppose, if you're in the show for, did you say 2.5 years?
Nearly 1,000 performances, yeah.
Is there anything that went wrong that you can remember from that? Because I can absolutely tell you some screw-ups that happened on my watch as well, which were devastating. But of course, actually, sometimes people don't even notice that's happened.
Yeah, you say that. I remember once I thought I was fine, but I came over, the garden scene. I came over the gate and to Valjean. He's standing there, and it's meant to be, I'm there in the coat, whatever. I have a lesson, monsieur. It's addressed to your daughter, Cosette. It's from a boy in the barricade, sir, in the rue de Villette, right? And I came over there, looked at him and went, I didn't even know what a word was, let alone the whole of the two phrases. Thinking like this, and he just, I can't remember, it was Stig Rossen who was playing it, and he literally just turned up stage and started laughing. I mean, he was giggling away. And I just stood there going, thinking, and then it passed, and it's fine. And then, of course, on my own, as soon afterwards, the rest of the show was absolutely fine. And then I left thinking, oh, no one will notice. No, it's fine. And all these, you get these regular fans who go, I left out stage, and they're like, oh my God, that moment that you... I thought, yeah, everybody noticed. Yeah, okay. No, I didn't get away with it at all. And the other one was Phantom. I just remember, I mean, this is only my mess ups, but walking in, there's a point she walks in and goes, singing the opera, that bit. And I just walked on, and obviously, I guess I hadn't done my ritual. I don't know. But I walked on and started an octave too high.
Oh my God.
So, and literally, as a company, they turned up stage and laughed. I mean, it was so, because they're all standing there waiting for you. And fortunately, it's only a brief moment, but there was no way to go with it. Because you just like, okay. But no, that was fine. I don't think anyone noticed, but.
Oh gosh. Well, now you've very generously shared your.
What was yours?
Well, actually, I tell you what, you came straight after me in the one that I really remember, and it was awful. Something happened, and there was a little announcement on the speakers before we went on and everything, saying, we've got some problems with the feedback with the monitors today, so you might not hear all the instrumentation coming through. Yeah, and we were like, okay, fine. So the show was going all right, but it was just really weird, just couldn't really hear. But so much of it was based on the keyboards, and it was the keyboards that were playing up. We weren't hearing, and. I just remember there's that bit after Stars where little Gavroche comes in with that inspector thinks he's something. Yeah. And
I'm sitting at the top. We're about to go, Cosette, now I remember. Yep.
Yeah, so you're sat there waiting. So you will have been there while this happened. Yep. But basically what happened, I just didn't hear my introduction. And the conductor... No. The conductor was just kind of looking at the score. And then I just saw him look up at me, and I saw the reflection in his glasses. And I just strained. Like I hear the little bass part going... Dum, dum, dum. And I got to the end and going... And I just got the last couple of lines out, and then it revolved around. And I remember going back off stage feeling absolutely...
Do you know, I actually think I remember. And I'm not just saying that, because I do remember a thing going out and saying that we're not getting all the fallback of the instruments.
It was a bit of a screw-up, actually. It was the one time... I mean, it was...
It wasn't your fault.
I think other people had problems as well, but of course I'm totally focused on my own kind of...
No.
And actually, I think often someone in the choral sections, I think there were moments where the chorus had to stop singing for the soloists to be heard.
Yeah. Oh, it happens to everybody as well. The opening night of Manchester, we had the set broke down, the revolve stop. So, we had that. And then of course, that was plan B, wasn't there? The Les Mis without the revolve. Plan C was continuous revolve. Like, what do you do if it never stops and you can't get off?
Yeah. So with things going wrong in performance, which they can, some of these things, though, I don't know if you think this, they're so terrifying if you knew what was going to happen in advance. But in the moment that you have to deal with it, very often, actually, you just get on and do it. And that's sort of something I suppose you must instill in your students a little bit, is that there are so many things beyond your control, and you have to...
You do. You just have to sort of carry on. But I think that's the beauty of it. And then when you're working with people you like and in a nice company, you are together doing that, aren't you?
Yeah.
I wasn't there at the time, but I know that David Burt, when he was en jour, apparently the guns didn't go off, the big battle. No, wait, they didn't press the button. Oh, I was there when they pressed stream instead of scream. You know, when I run up, or the Eponine runs up and goes, ah! I ran up to the gate and went, ah! And it was just whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And it was like, what?
Did you switch to the such a fair suicide?
Yeah. They pressed stream. Yeah, they pressed the suicide. I know, it was really funny. But with Bertie, who was up there, and apparently, so the guns just didn't go off, and he waited. He was there, and he just went, "We've won!"
Amazing. Just completely changed the story. So empty chairs and empty tables, everyone's still sat around.
They're fine, just sitting around. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Oh, I love that danger, of somebody. I was never that brave, but to do that is so cool.
Oh,
it's so
God.
cool.
Well, it reminds me, we both in the show had our own death scene, which was pretty impressive. That's really something
cool.
else.
Yeah.
But in one of my death scenes, they introduced DAT tape, I think, to trigger the sound effects. Probably a bit the same with the stream stuff. So with the gunshots that were meant to shoot me, I meant to die by 3 gunshots.
Yeah.
I died by about 29 of them.
No!
Yeah, it seemed it got stuck or something. It sort of jammed, and then
it was like a machine gun.
Yeah, it was a total machine gun in 1832 or whatever it was.
Did you keep moving?
I just crouched down and screamed as if they were exploding all around me, and then carried on, did the last bit.
That's clever.
I thought I'd better finish the song, but I do remember turning around and looking at the people watching at the barricade, and all their shoulders were shaking.
Yeah,
they were just in total hysterics. Yeah,
they're not loyal at all at those points when something goes wrong. They just turn around and shake.
Are you a giggler as well? Because I am.
Oh yeah.
I take it so seriously, but I can still really dissolve into laughter.
Oh, corpsing is just awful. It still happens to me occasionally. I mean, my friend, it's not as often these days, but I've been timed for the amount of time that, once I start and you can't stop because something is just so.
Yeah.
Well, it's awful when you do it in front of students. I've got a thing of 40 students there, and I've gone off on some tangent and I've made myself laugh. And then, oh God, it still happens.
The thing is, it's more acceptable to cry, isn't it? It's more acceptable to be moved to tears than to laugh. But the worst part, I always think about corpsing, not only is it that kind of school fear of laughing in assembly, about to be told off, but it's also that thing is, it doesn't mean you're not taking it seriously.
No!
It doesn't mean that it doesn't matter to you, that you're kind of just
Absolutely
joking around.
not.
But that's what it reads as. People say, well, if you were really serious about this,
I know.
Yeah. Well...
Anyway.
Meredith, this has been such a thrill to talk to you after 34 years.
Don't say that.
I'm glad to hear that the 21st century's been good to you so far.
Yeah, no, oh my.
Great. Good. Well, I think if it's going to be 34 years, our next chat will be in 2059.
Well, that'll be a hologram.
I don't know,
oh my
will we
God.
be...
or a QR code or something by then.
Exactly.
Or you'll have just uploaded. I do think it's a funny idea, don't you think, on a gravestone to have a QR code that you could just
Here's my spotlight.
Scan it.
It's like...
Yeah, my spotlight. Or you.
IMDb.
And for me, it would just be Muppets. I mean, but you know what? If that's what I'm remembered by, my children, I hope, remember for other reasons. But I do hope that maybe I've left, more than that. But in terms of what a lovely thing to be associated with.
Of course.
So, what a gift. It's the gift that just carries on giving, honestly, every year. And I love it. I'm still such a huge fan.
Great. Well, that's lovely to hear because everyone listening is too. So that's brilliant. So thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you so much.
And you can now hear Meredith sing her song from the Muppets, When Love Is Gone, which she re-recorded with her son playing the cello. A special thank you to Tim Hutton, founder of Stage Door Records, for allowing us to play it to you now. Happy Christmas.
There was a time when I was sure that you and I were truly one, that our future was forever and would never come undone. And we came so close to being close, and though you cared for me, there's distance in your eyes tonight, so we're not meant to be. The love is gone, the love is gone, the sweetest dream that you have ever known. The love is gone, the love is gone. I perfect life can be. But adventure calls with unknown voices pulling you away. Be careful or you may regret the choice you make someday. When love is gone, when love is gone, the sweetest dream that we have ever known. When love is gone, when love is gone, I wish you well, but I must leave you now alone. It was almost love. It was almost always. It was like a fairy tale. We'd live out, you and I. And yes, some dreams come true. And yes, some dreams fall through. And yes, the time has come for us to say goodbye. Yes, some dreams come true. And yes, some dreams fall through. And yes, the time has come for us to say goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Charles Dickens' A Brain on Fire this Christmas. If you're enjoying these episodes and would like to make a small donation to cover the costs of producing them, please go to the description wherever you're listening to this and you can buy a coffee. Every one of those that is bought makes a huge difference. Thank you so much, and see you in the new year.